Kratos had been in service to the gods long enough to know the Harpy had been sent as a warning, a reminder from his former master of the decision that had cost Kratos everything.
Ares!
He would turn him into the perfect warrior.
I shall carry forth your will.
And his fate was sealed. The memories came rushing back, as familiar and permanent as the blades chained to his wrists.
They've built this temple to offer prayers to Athena!
Beware, Kratos.
This entire village stands as an affront to Lord Ares!
The dangers in the temple are greater than you know.
Burn this village! Burn it to the ground!
They were not there by chance, Kratos!
He would murder the god of war.
Only one item in the world will allow you to defeat a god. Pandora's box.
Wretched beast! I know who it is you serve! Return to your master! Tell the god of war I am his no longer. Tell him he is not safe while I walk the earth. I will find Pandora's box, and I will use it to see him tremble and fall before me.
Hi everybody, welcome back to more Let's Play God of War, the 2005 original, the one that has Pandora's Temple as opposed to Tyr's Temple. Last time, we made it through the Cliffs of Madness. We now understand all of Kratos' tragic backstory. Truly terrible, terrible shit that he's had to deal with, that he's been put up to. As we know from Ascension, a lot of this was preordained, and as we're going to find out, there's still more to this sordid little tale of Kratos killing his own kin. Something that nature absolutely abhors, if we remember from the Norse 2018 God of War game. So, yeah, Kratos has a long way to go before we get to that point. For now, though, still in Pandora's Temple, but we're close to the end. This video marks the last video where we will spend within the confines of the temple. So, hooray! We're finally almost done. And it's a short video too, only 25 minutes, and some of that towards the end is going to be cutscene stuff. So, you know, be excited for that. We're almost out of the temple and about to move on to greener pastures, as it were. Not that the pastures will actually be the color green, but we're gonna finally get different aesthetics as opposed to just desert and rock and ground. So be excited for that. We're almost out of here. Before we can get out of here, though, of course, we need Pandora's box, and to get Pandora's box, we have to make our way through the Architect's Tomb, which is the next area that we're about to enter. And then one more area right behind the Architect's Tomb that isn't named, but is called the Zeus Mountain, which is a pretty badass name, I think. So, one more area, the Architect's Tomb. Very short, again, this video is like less than half an hour, and by the end of this video we will be at the end of the temple at last, and we will finally have Pandora's box, the thing that we need to kill a true Olympian god. Now, of course, to do that we have to actually get into the Architect's Tomb, but as we find out from pushing this button, not only does it not open the door to the Architect's Tomb, it is also going to be a timed thing. We'll see when we actually get to the other side, but the bars that were blocking the still closed door are just going to reappear, because this is a timed thing. Very simple little platforming puzzle, though I will end up dying there. I think 2 times, just because platforming backwards and forwards under a time limit is pretty harrowing, and I do mess it up 2 times, so that's great. So this whole part of the game is just figuring out how to actually open up the Architect's Tomb, and, you know, I'm just going to show you the steps as efficiently as possible. So the first thing you want to do is get the statue moving. You could potentially put the statue on this button, and doing so opens another set of bars that block the still closed door, but we don't want to actually do that, because we're going to put something else on that button soon enough. And as you can see, as opposed to the first button, that one is not That one is not time sensitive, that one is pressure sensitive, so you do need to have constant pressure on that particular button at all times to keep those bars open. So we don't want to put the statue on that one, because that's not going to help us at all. ABE, always be exploring. Remember, break everything. Collect as many red orbs as you can, as quickly as you can. There's not that much that I need to upgrade anymore at this point, because I got my Blades of Chaos level 5, I got my Poseidon's Rage leveled up entirely, you know, Zeus Lightning Bolt leveled up entirely. The Medusa's Gaze is useful at level 2, it's more useful at level 3, but it's not required as opposed to having, you know, fully powered up Poseidon's Rage or the fully powered up Blades of Chaos. And of course I'm not even focusing on the Blades of Artemis, because I don't use them at all in how I play the game, so. A couple of undead soldiers here. These are the ones that have the sides and the swords. Again, pretty tough, but you can do the classic launch enemies up like we did in Chains of Olympus. It's much more difficult to do that in the original God of War as opposed to in Chains of Olympus itself. You know, the mechanics are not as refined in this game as they will be in later titles. But the strategies do still work. So now we have a couple more undead soldiers here to deal with. Again, just launch them up if you can. Mash circle. In God mode, that is the safest strategy and does plenty of damage, so it is still the best method of taking care of enemies. At this point, I've done a test playthrough of Ghost of Sparta, which is the next game we're playing canonically. And actually, when we get to that game, there's going to be different strategies, because Ghost of Sparta feels very different from the original God of War, and even from other God of Wars like Chains of Olympus or Ascension or stuff. We're not going to be doing the launch method that much in Ghost of Sparta. There's other things that we do in that game to make things easier for ourselves in the highest difficulty. But for now, in original God of War, launch method is still the best method. At this point, the game is throwing us a few more, sort of big fights. They're saving their last truly giant fight for the end of the temple, though, and we're not there quite yet. So don't worry too much about these fights. They're basically gimmies just to get you some more red orbs. There is one more really, really big and involved fight before we actually get the box, but that won't be for a few more minutes yet. So for now, just enjoy this brief respite, this brief little rest. Got some Cerberus pups here. Remember, kill them quickly. You don't want them transforming into full-size Cerberus. Even with level 5 Blades of Chaos, they can take quite a beating. I'm convinced that the enemies do actually scale up in their health and their defense the further along the game you go. In some cases, because when we get towards the end of the game, you're going to see that there's a little power creep situation happening where you get to enjoy how much power you have over old enemies that you may have had trouble with towards the beginning of the game. That's a pretty cool little moment, and we'll talk more about that once it actually happens. But yeah, I'm convinced that some enemies, especially in Pandora's Temple, do kind of scale up their power, because I have level 5 Blades of Chaos. It shouldn't take that long to kill certain enemies, and yet it still kind of does. Not with all of them, but with some enemies that would have taken fewer hits earlier in the game to kill. They take a little bit more now, even with fully powered up stuff. I don't know. It's a little thing I noticed. It's probably not even a thing that actually happens. It's just something I happened to notice in the highest difficulty as I was playing, wanting to finally be done with Pandora's Temple. You couldn't climb the ladder for the platform on this side, but you can use the crane there to get over here and get some extra red orb chests. Again, I missed quite a few red orb chests in my playthrough, so make sure to check out the collectibles guide and the link to the other person's collectibles guide, so that way you can find out where all the hidden red orb chests are, because there's quite a few that I missed in my main playthrough. A lot of them in Athens, but a few of them in Pandora's Temple too. In terms of white orb chests, I get basically all of them except for, I think, 3. So, not bad. Anyway, moving on to the big puzzle of the Architect's Tomb. we want to use this big block here, and we want to crash down into the cracked floor that we noted earlier. We don't want to keep it down there. There's no point. You may recall that we had a button on the other side of the door down there that is pressure sensitive as opposed to time sensitive. So we're going to use this block to hold down that button forever. Just use the shadow to line up the block with the button and launch it down. And boom, we already have one part of the door permanently opened. Permanently opened and taken care of. So at this point, we can make our way back down and use our statue. Well, use our statue after killing the Cyclopes. There's going to be a few Cyclopes here. A very slow process. Here I'm not speeding things up too much because, again, this video is already short enough. We only have like 10 more minutes of actual gameplay time before we get into a cutscene that leads us into the end of the video. Just showing off that in God mode, you want to play it safe. That means keeping your distance with the Blades of Chaos. That means, Jesus, that means doing the square triangle combo. If you have a surplus of magic and know that you have access to more magic and health chests coming up soon, then, you know, feel free to use some of your magic to do a powerful Poseidon's Rage. At this point, they're so powerful that they will kill these Cyclopes pretty quickly. You know, what I was talking about before about the enemies kind of scaling up and how much health and defense they have doesn't really apply to the magic so much as it does to the Blades of Chaos. Magic's still incredibly powerful, especially once it's at level 3. At this point, I'm just backtracking my way in here just to refill on my magic, I believe. Yep, because I have full health. Thank you, Cyclopes, for dropping so much. And then I quickly make my way back to the main area. So now that we dispatched the Cyclopes and refilled our health and magic, we can use the statue now at last. So underneath this cracked ground, there is another pressure-sensitive button, not time-sensitive. This one is pressure-sensitive as well. And this one actually opens the door. And now with the door open, the only thing that we have left is the first set of bars. And you may recall that the bars are time-sensitive as opposed to pressure-sensitive. So we're going to have to press the button and make our way back over to the actual Tomb of the Architect pretty quickly. The actual place where the architect himself is at. This is very, very different than the novelization of God of War. In the novelization, the architect is actually alive and kind of pretending to be one of the traps. I fell. I fell there. That was unfortunate. I'm going to fall again before this is all said and done. So I died 2 times to this timed puzzle. One of them before even doing the timed puzzle. So that was wonderful. Anyway, yeah. See that. Went too fast there. So, total of 18 deaths so far. Yeah, in the God of War novelization, the Cliffs of Madness don't even exist in the novelization. They really just go off script from the game and just skip the Cliffs of Madness kind of entirely and just do something very, very, very different to end the Pandora's Temple thing, which I will talk about later. It's very, very strange. I don't mind the novelization of God of War. I liked it a lot, but... Oh, and here's the architect's wife. Yeah. Yeah. Very, very sad. He can't go on anymore. His entire family's dead. One of them by his own hand. So at this point, we're going to take the architect's... I believe this is the architect's wife's head. The other person, the other corpse, over with the note was the actual architect himself, and this is his wife's skull that we're using to open the final door. Morbid that it took the skulls of the entire architect's family to finish making our way through. Here, by the way, we have some interesting little illustrations of the architect's various traps that filled up the temple. So that's cool. There's another one. But yeah, novelization. I don't mind it that much. I'll talk about it more in the extras video, I guess. I don't mind it that much. But it wasn't my favorite read. I'm reading the novelization now for the 2018 God of War game, and I find that one a little better than the novelization for this game. They do change a lot in the novelization for this game, which I'm not a fan of. I know they can't cover every single little fight that Kratos has, but you would think that they would lean more closely to the skeleton of this game. And they kind of skip a few parts. Not, you know, super important parts, but they do kind of skip a few parts, which is unfortunate. Regardless, though, I'm rambling on about the novelization. Now that we've made it past the Architect's Tomb, this is Zeus Mountain. This is the last area of Pandora's Temple, and this is where Pandora's box actually is. We're about to get Pandora's box. After opening up those 2 red orb chests that for some reason contained very, very, very few red orb chests. It's very strange. One more save point before getting the box, and now it's time to actually complete our final trial. Prove that we are worthy for this box at last. Very exciting. Very, very exciting to finally be at the end of the temple and move on to different stuff. To different looking stuff, at least. One more fancy spiral staircase with a fancy camera angle. That's a camera angle they love doing a lot in Greek mythology God of War. It's a very good camera angle. And here we go. This is it. This is our final challenge, our final combat challenge. The box is literally there, where the three brother gods, the 3 brother kings of Olympus, are looking down at it. But in order to get it, we have one more trial. This is a big combat trial on conveyor belts, with big roller things that will crush and kill you instantly if you allow yourself to get into them. The only enemies here are going to be archers and harpies, so you don't have to worry about super powerful enemies, but there's a goddamn lot of them. And when it comes to the archers, you may be thinking to yourself, well, why don't I just stand on the platforms the archers are hanging out in and just, not even worry about the conveyor belt situation? Well, if you stand on these platforms, you will notice that there are those things that are starting to shoot fire a little bit. If you stand on a non-conveyor belt platform for too long, then those little holes are going to shoot out fire, and that fire will kill you almost instantly, especially in God mode. So you don't want to be standing on the platforms that the archers are standing on. Doing that means you're going to die if you stand on there too long. The game forces you to stand on the conveyor belts and deal with the moving conveyor belts as you deal with harpies and archers. Thankfully, the archers only have like one respawn wave, so after you kill one archer, like one more will respawn in its place, and then that's it. So you only have to deal with a small set amount of archers before dealing with the nearly... God, I don't even know how many harpies there are. Like nearly 100 harpies that you're going to be fighting here at this point. It's a very, very long battle. You want to kind of situate yourself where I am now and doing the various squares and triangle combo that I'm doing to try and to do enough damage and also launch yourself off of the conveyor belt, because when Kratos launches himself off of the conveyor belt, obviously the physics of the conveyor belt don't affect him anymore. So you can kind of control for how long you're going to be on any particular conveyor belt at any given time by doing the specific combo that I'm doing. Because at the end of the combo, Kratos launches himself off from the solid ground that he's on, which kinds of saves him from having to deal with the conveyor belt physics for too long. So doing that combo repeatedly, kind of situating yourself in front of the platforms that the archers were hanging out on, so that way the conveyor belt doesn't lead you towards the rolling pins and just leads you into the platform themselves is a much safer bet. There are many, many, many harpies, a set amount of archers. You can't just stand on the platform that the archers were on. It's very, very, very difficult battle. There's a nice little hint towards the future of the God of War franchise with that little platform. And with that, one combat challenge that is difficult, but I somehow did it in one try, because it's not the worst thing in this temple by a country mile. The Centaur battle in the Challenge of Hades is much worse than that battle. Purely because the Centaurs are just more annoying enemies than those. Anyway, with all that said and done, we're finally done with the temple. We finally have Pandora's box. Here it finally is in all its glory. Look at it. Very fancy. Got lots of screaming faces on it. Very, very ornate. Excellent. We finally have it after 5 episodes. Hoorah! Here's a cutscene.
Kratos, your quest is at an end. You are the first mortal to ever reach Pandora's box. There is still time to save Athens. You must bring the box back to my city and use it to kill Ares. Return to Athens, Kratos. Return and save my city.
She expects us to just push this box all the way to goddamn Athens? We have to go through the whole desert pushing this thing? That's kind of crazy, and I went on and on about how that's a great little effect with the reflection there. It looks fantastic. That's kind of crazy that we have to push this box all the way to Athens, but okay, I guess we will do that. Maybe Kratos got better at pushing things, you know, like he does in Ascension. Maybe? No, still slow. Okay, that's gonna take a while.
You must bring Pandora's box back to Athens, Kratos. You cannot defeat Ares without it.
Right. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I hope you enjoyed this episode of Let's Play God of War. We're at the end. We're about to hit a very big cutscene, so, yeah. I'll see you all next time. We're almost done, and the rest of these are very short episodes, so we're very, very close to done. Hope you enjoyed. Have a good one. Bye-bye, everyone.
After 1,000 years, Pandora's box was at last freed of its confines. Kratos had found the means to destroy the god of war. Far away in Athens, Ares knew Kratos had succeeded in his quest.
So, little Spartan, you've recovered Zeus's precious box, but you will not live long enough to see it opened. I will see to that. Goodbye, Spartan. You will rot in the depths of Hades for all eternity.
As the life began to leave Kratos, his thoughts returned to that fateful night. Even in death, the memories, the visions would not fade. For how could he forget spilling the blood of his own family? A cruel trick orchestrated by the god of war.
My wife, my child, how? They were left in Sparta.
You are becoming all I'd hoped you'd be, Kratos. Now, with your wife and child dead, nothing will hold you back. You'll become even stronger. You will become death itself.
But as the flames consumed the temple, Kratos realized his true enemy was the god who once saved his life. The same god who had now taken everything from him.
Ares!
From this night forward, the mark of your terrible deed will be visible to all. The ashes of your wife and child will remain fastened to your skin, never to be removed.
And with that curse, all would know him for the beast he had become. His skin white with the ash of his dead family. The ghost of Sparta had been born. In the end, in death, he had failed. As the minions of Ares claimed Pandora's box, Kratos' life faded, and his cursed soul was cast into the fires of Hades.